Welcome to You Can Call Me Goddess because you're so much more than a queen. My name is Manuk Vink. I am a trained intuitive energy healer specialized in transforming your body and your life. In this podcast, we are going to be diving into everything to unlock the goddess that you are within you. Think of it as the ultimate glow up from the inside out. It's time to unlock your power. It's time to unlock your magic. So sit back and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another You Can Call Me Goddess podcast. I am so excited to be having you on the podcast today. Again, I love doing these for you guys and diving into some topics, telling you some more about, what you can start doing today to start shifting your reality. And today I want to dive into something that I probably feel like is familiar to a lot of you. And once you get a full understanding of why this is happening, it's hopefully going to bring about some relief, but not only relief, probably, oh, that makes sense kind of feeling. And now I know why that's been happening. I hope that's how you're going to feel by the end of this podcast, because I am going to explain this from my personal experience, something that I'm still experiencing. And what I'm talking about here is this feeling of you feel like you're literally doing it all. And I'm talking, you're taking the actions, you're putting in the steps, you're doing the energy work, or maybe not, which we're going to cover as well, or maybe you're not taking enough physical actions. But we have spoken about this, but I'm going to speak about it a little bit from a different angle today, because I know this feeling from personal experience, that feeling of like, I'm literally doing it all. I literally feel like I'm taking the energetic action, I'm taking the physical actions, I'm implementing everything that I've learned. Why is whatever results I'm trying to create not being created? And that feeling of frustration of why am I not there yet? I think I feel like most of us know that feeling. At least I know for sure that I do. I literally have battled with that my entire life. And it started with me, well, I don't know, probably started way earlier than that. But the main thing that got me on this journey was my body. And well, yeah, at least it was my body. The biggest component of me, wanting to change women's lives, people's lives, and feel stronger within themselves, it obviously comes from so much more. If you've listened to some of my story and you know a little bit about also my battle with OCD, and then I moved around a lot when I was younger, so that created an unsafe environment, all that jazz, right? So my whole life's journey, we all have our life's journey, but all these things, they fit together. They're like a puzzle piece. They're like puzzle pieces that fit together to create the entire puzzle, which is your soul path, is your soul pull, is what you're meant to be doing in this life. So everything has a very specific reason why it's happening to you and why you're going through that. But a reoccurring thing a lot of the time that I've experienced, and maybe you can resonate with this, is this feeling that I always felt like it was so much easier for everybody else. Like, why is it so much easier for everybody else? When it came to my body, that's one that I can resonate with the most and that I can remember very clearly. It was like, I feel like I'm putting in all the work. I'm literally taking all the actions. I'm working on my diet. I'm training. I'm doing it all. Why? Why am I not getting the body like the girl over there or that girl? Like, I felt like I was doing it all and I wasn't getting the results that I desired. That's like one of the first memories where I felt like this was happening to me. And again, so here's the key, right? I'm saying it was happening to me. And what I want you to do, as I'm talking about this, I want you to think of a memory where you had this happening, whether it be, because we're going to touch upon not only the body, I'm going to apply this in all areas of your life, right? So I want you to think about, memorize a moment right now where you had that happen. I think we can all think of a moment where you're doing it all and nothing seems to be shifting. whether that's in the body, whether that's in your career, whether that's in your relationship. You feel like you're carrying it all, you feel like you're doing it all, but nothing seems to be shifting. And what we end up doing, I know I did, you start like trying every single thing. So let's first take the body. What I was doing, more extreme diets, more workouts, asking more of myself. In this particular example, what I was doing, I was taking all the physical actions, but I was not tuning into my body. And so my body didn't shift. I was doing all the physical actions. I totally neglected the energetic component of what I needed to do to shift my body. So this is what happens with most people. And then for those of you, stick around, because for those of you who are feeling like you're doing both energetic and physical, we're going to dive into that a little bit later. I'm going to give you examples of how these can like become higher levels that you have to work through. Because when I did this, right, with the body, I figured out why my body wasn't shifting, even though I was doing everything right. I was taking all the physical actions. I was taking, watching what I was eating, focusing on my macros, doing the training, et cetera, et cetera. And then my body didn't want to shift. That was because I wasn't taking energetic action. I wasn't listening to my body. My body was working not against me. It was trying to communicate to me that I was stuck, that there was an imbalance, and that I was not seeing myself as perfect, and that I was not shifting the internal stuff. I was constantly attacking it from the external, like hoping that the internal would change because of that, but that doesn't work. So you need to shift the internal before you get external changes. And this is where it gets tricky, because let's just go with this example. And what happened here, after I figured that out, I started realizing, oh my God, there's something deeper. I need to listen to my body. The moment I started actually listening to my body, taking the foot off the gas, taking a little bit more time and listening and understanding my body started to listen to me. My body started to shift because I was listening to it. It's a two-way street here. So the body will shift as soon as you listen to the body. And that's why it's so important to have a deeper understanding of what your body is communicating. Not only that, but your body is going to tell you exactly what you need to shift internally to gain more success in other areas of your life. So in this particular example, I started losing weight and shifting my body because I was taking the energetic action. I was listening to my body. I was listening to my body, and I was starting to realize that I had been beating my body up, and that's why my body wasn't shifting. So here, it was just a matter of leveling out the energetic with the physical action, and actually adding in the energetic action, because I was so much in my masculine. I was trying to whip my body into shape. I was doing everything to try and get the thing that I wanted through physical action, through forceful physical action, without actually taking the feminine component, listening and being in flow and actually understanding what my body was communicating. What really changed my life in this was especially the component of intuitively tapping in. And I know I've spoken about this in previous podcasts, but that helped me to identify what my body was actually communicating. Not only that, what my body actually needed. And it didn't need as much as I thought that it did. Now, if you're listening to this at this moment and you're like, yeah, Manouk, I know, we've heard this story. I get that. I get the physical. I get the energetic. That all makes sense to me. But I'm doing everything. I'm taking the energetic action. I'm taking the physical action. I know about spiritual stuff and manifestation techniques, and I know about all of this, and I'm doing it all. I'm working on my self-image. I'm working on my self-love. I'm doing all of these things. Girl, I feel you, because I literally have that happen to me still now. That I feel like I should be further along, that I feel like I should have already been at the end of this journey, or at a specific point in my journey, and I'm not there yet. And it's like, why not? Because I'm doing it all. Like, I deserve to be already like a multi-millionaire. I deserve to be already having the dream relationship. I deserve to already have everything that I've been manifesting towards because I've been doing it for so long. And I'm taking all the actions and I'm listening to the energetic and I'm taking the physical actions. Why am I not there yet? I feel you. I hear you. If you feel this way, this is going to start shifting your perspective because, first of all, let's shift the perspective here because the reason you're not where you want to be yet and you're taking all the actions could very likely mean that you're actually meant to be a master at whatever you're trying to master, which means you have to iron out every single detail so that you can help others ironing out every single detail. Not only that, when you start figuring out all components of this puzzle that you are trying to complete, of this journey, the end of the road that you're trying to reach, when you are trying to get all those puzzle pieces, you need to make sure that you're not missing any. Because if the puzzle is incomplete, then you'll never have the results that you desire. There's going to be holes. There's going to be things missing. So your journey, the tougher it is, the more difficult it is to get to your end destination, the higher a probability it probably is that you're meant for something big, which means you can't just have that dumped on you today, because if you have that multi-million, billion-dollar business today, you have all that financial abundance today, you have the dream relationship today. If you don't have the tools and you don't have the skill sets to hold it and to manage it, just like the dream body, right? You're going to mess it up. And I know this from personal experience. Not me specifically. Do I have an example? Not me personally, no, because I'm going through it so that I have all the tools. But I know people in my life. This is a whole story. One day I will tell you more about the entire story. But a family that I am close to, they came into a lot of money. And they never learned to deal with that money. They never had the tools to maintain it. They never had the energetic knowledge to hold that money. They never had the knowing of how to make the money work for them. So what happens, you get so much money, and you hear this with lottery, people that win the lottery, right? They get this crazy amount of money, like millions, and within no time, they lose it all. Why? Because their energetic body and their understanding of money and finances and having that mastery isn't there. Their self-image is also not there. So they don't feel like they can make more money. They don't know how to make something grow. So because of that doubt and that not knowing how to hold it and having all the tools and all the knowledge around finances, around money, they lose it. So if you were to think of the thing that you want to achieve right now, if that was like basically you got it today, would you know how to handle it? Would you have systems in place to make it grow, to keep it successful, or would it fall apart? If the answer is it would fall apart, then you're not ready yet. So that is why it is so good and important to have an understanding of what is happening. You are being set up to succeed. You're not being set up to fail, because if you were being set up to fail, you would get the thing that you want today. What would happen then is you wouldn't be able to hold it. You wouldn't be able to manage it. You wouldn't be able to get it to the point that you desire, even with the dream relationship. And I am going to, if you guys want, dive deeper into relationship components as I'm going through my own relationship lessons at the moment. If you don't learn lessons from previous relationships, you don't master the lessons from previous relationships, you could meet your soulmate tomorrow and it could be a dumpster fire. And that's what you don't want, right? We don't want it to be a dumpster fire. So the thing you're asking for, the thing that you're trying to manifest, if you're not ready to hold it, the universe, source, your higher self isn't going to give it to you yet, because they want you to succeed. They want you to be able to create more of that, to hold it and not have to go through the devastation of having it and then losing it. And that's why you don't have the thing that you want yet. It's in the process of being created. And before you reach the level where you can hold it, we have to go through these lessons. That's why I always talk about obstacles, right? These obstacles are the gift. These obstacles are getting you ready. They're prepping you. They're training you to get you to where you want to be. And without those obstacles, your energy, your human, your everything is not going to be able to maintain the thing that you desire. You're not going to get the result that you desire. And even if you were to get the result that you desire, you wouldn't be able to hold on to it. So be happy about the fact that you're not where you want to be right now, because it would maybe be a disaster if you were. And we don't want that to be a disaster. And if at any moment you're feeling triggered while I'm saying this, it's because your ego is pushing against this idea. And you're too much in the state of, I want this, I need this now, which is another component of it. The more we want something, the more we push it away. And I have said this in previous podcasts before. And that's the thing. We will tell ourselves consciously that we don't want something. No, I don't actually want it. I don't want it that bad. Believe me, I've been there where I literally got called out in one of my training calls where I was like, no, but what if I don't actually want it? And then my mentor called me out and was like, Manouk, your level of want is at a 95%. And I was like, okay, never mind. I was like, fine, subconscious. My subconscious always tattletaling on me, telling everybody where I'm actually at. Well, intuitives, because they can read that. So you could tell yourself all you want that you don't want something, but if your subconscious wants it, you push it away. And that is the issue here. So let's actually dive deeper into that. So you're taking all the action. So let's park that idea of you're not going to get what you want right now until you're ready. Let's park that idea. We're going to put that aside. Leave that for now. And let's actually be like, okay, so why aren't you getting, other than that component, the thing that you desire right now? You're taking all the actions. You're doing the manifestation. You're doing the physical actions. You're going out there. Okay. So there's lots of things that could be going on here. And that's why intuition is so important, or at least can be such a game changer, because consciously we like to tell ourselves that we're taking all the actions. And then literally I got told, like, how do you say that? I got pointed out on this recently. So it's very easy, because we're all human. So it's very easy to think like that we're taking all the actions, but you're missing the one action step that you need to take to fully shift the thing that you desire. And it's not your fault, because we've never been taught the right tools or the right ways to actually manifest and create the things that we desire. So you're doing everything. You're taking the actions. You're doing the energetic components and literally hustling, feeling like you've got all the knowledge and you're applying it all. Okay, there could be a couple things going on here. First of all, what I mentioned earlier, the level of want could be extremely high. Even though you're telling yourself the level of want is low, if subconsciously your level of want is still high, you're still going to repel or push away the thing that you desire. Think about it. We're looking at moving to another apartment, and they are so eager for us to sign and pay for rent that if I didn't have intuition, I would probably be like, okay, we're going to look for something else, because you're so pushy right now. We don't like that energy. We don't like pushy energy. We don't like needy energy. Doesn't matter where it's coming from. When someone pushes, when you go into like a store and you want to go buy something, and instead of like the how do you call them? Like retail personnel, I don't know how you say that, people in the shop letting you browse and do your thing, when they are on you and they are immediately trying to sell you something, you're like, no thank you, and you want to leave. It's the most off-putting energy. The energy of want is the most off-putting energy. Even if I've had this, it's so funny because I used to be really like insecure in the dating world, and I was always the one that was head over heels. I was always the one that was like, I would fall for a guy, also value stuff, obviously, that I needed to work through, which, that has improved like crazy. It's such a difference. But for the first time, I had a guy that was more into me than I was into the guy. And oh my God, it was so much. It was like, this guy was like constantly texting me, constantly wanting to be at my place, constantly wanting to see me, that I was like, dude, leave me alone. It is suffocating. And the same thing goes when you're trying to attract more business, more abundance, more growth, right? Or a relationship or a body. It doesn't matter what energy it is. It doesn't matter what result it is. The more you want it, and I've told you about this with my body, same thing. I wanted it too much, putting pressure onto it, creating the absolute opposite. So the more you want something, the more you push it away. And this is a reminder. The thing is, we often tell ourselves that we don't want something. That's why I gave you the example earlier. But if your subconscious is like, but I want it so bad, then it's not going to work. So that brings me to another component of this. That's why when you have intuition, or at least you can have someone look in intuitively or check what's going on, it is such a game changer when you know what energetically is going on subconsciously, because that is what's going to be broadcasting out in your creator field. If you've listened to previous podcasts, it's the subconscious mind that creates 90 to 95% of all situations, circumstance, and matter around you. And that is why the subconscious mind is so extremely powerful. So if your conscious mind is saying, I don't want this, but your conscious mind is screaming, I need this, then it's the subconscious mind that is going to create. So it's the subconscious mind that's creating your creator field, and that is sending out in needy energy. So we want to make sure that subconsciously the want is gone. And even me being an intuitive, my human self got me to second guess or deny, let's just say deny, that I wanted something to change. This was something to do with my relationship. I was telling myself, no, I don't want it. And my subconscious mind was like, you want it and you are frustrated by this. So stop lying to yourself. And that is the problem. So when you can intuitively feel what's going on subconsciously, or you somewhere know deep down, probably, if you really sit with the feeling and you ask yourself in the mirror, you look to yourself in the mirror and you ask yourself, do you really not want this? Or how much do you want this? You can already tell if you're deflecting, right? If you're denying the fact that you want something or not. So that's why when you are trying to create something, you have to make sure that subconsciously you get the want down. So you fully root to that, which brings me to another component. When it comes to a lot of manifestation techniques, it doesn't often talk about that where, the want needs to go down. It does talk about, at least from what I've seen when it comes to manifestation techniques and energetic techniques, it's like, the same thing with affirmations. It's the same type of concept. If you look in the mirror and you constantly tell yourself, I'm successful, I'm successful, I'm successful, it actually gives you the opposite result, because it hits your conscious mind, and your conscious mind goes, you're saying I'm successful, but I'm not seeing any proof of that. So you actually reinforce the belief that you're not successful. And that's why the subconscious gets left out here a lot. We don't realize how powerful it is to lock it in subconsciously. And manifestation techniques miss that component of it. And that component really comes with techniques to fully reprogram the mind and emotionally connect. That is what is missing. The same thing with the reducing the want. The same thing with affirmations or creating what you desire. Just telling yourself you have it doesn't do anything. Just telling yourself you don't want it doesn't do anything. We need to come up with concrete reasons, evidence, and proof and points when it comes to not wanting something of why you don't want something. And the same thing goes why you already have something. like being successful. If you just tell yourself this in the mirror or write it down, but you don't emotionally feel it within your body, you're not going to connect with it. And that is a piece that a lot of these teachings miss. And it's even when you do try and emotionally connect, it can be very difficult. And that's why we use intuition, or we try multiple different techniques to see what helps you emotionally connect more. There are different methods to emotionally connecting to a belief or emotionally connecting to something to reprogram the mind. This is a lot of the time where we get held up and why we stop creating the thing that we desire. Because I know I'm like this. I can be like a bulldozer in my own life. It's like checking things off the list. Okay, so I've done that. So I'll sit and I've done this. I'll sit and I'll have, I need a route to this. So I'll sit and I'll route to it. I'll write down all the reasons why I am this thing, or I hold this thing, why I believe in this thing. I will route. So rooting to something is like fully believing it. I will do that systematically. Then I'll check it off the list and then I'll move on. The issue with that is that a lot of the time, then looking in, I see that I haven't actually fully emotionally connected because I didn't find a memory. I didn't actually feel it in my body that whatever I was rooting to was true. And that's why it's so important to have specific techniques to really, really feel and emotionally connect. The moment I started doing that, that's when things start to shift. So if you're checking things off the list and quote unquote, I'm doing air quotations right now, you're rooting to something or doing the energy work, but it hasn't fully landed in your body and you haven't fully connected with it emotionally, it isn't going to work. So one of the things that could be happening, the reason why you're not creating the thing that you want to create right now is because maybe you're going through the energetic motions, but you're not fully landing in the emotion. It's not fully being programmed in your system, right? And that could be something that is holding you up. Yeah, we're going to go over there so much that I want to share with you in today's. We're going to have to cut it into pieces. I'll see if we can get sometimes I swear I try to like say so many things in one go and then it all just comes out jumbled. So I'm sorry. I apologize. But that's always me. I'm like, oh my God, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. But I need to try and stay streamlined in my podcast and try to like make a solid point before moving on to the next thing. I don't think I have ADHD, but sometimes I'm so like excited about all of it that I want to share everything with you because I'm like, oh, they need to know this. So anyways, stick with me. So yeah, so the emotional component, right? That is one of the reasons why you might not be creating the thing that you desire. Okay, now I can hear you thinking, yeah, Manouk, but I know that I've been doing the emotional rooting. I've been doing that component. Okay, cool. Let's go down the list. What else could be going on? So taking from my own experiences, I know that my higher self wants me to really get to the nitty gritty of stuff. And so that's a sign. If your higher self is like that, that's a sign that you need to master these things. And that means you're probably one of those people that is meant to be teaching others, guiding others, and showing others all of this. And if you don't have all the information, you're not going to be able to help or reach as many people. So take it as a compliment that if you are needing to go through all the layers of something, that you are probably needing to master this. Because even before I started developing intuition, even before I actually got like the actual tools when it comes to self-love and self-image, which we'll touch upon today as well, I was already doing a lot of self-love, self-image healing, and I know people around me, so many that feel this way. Even my mom, I will help her with certain things, talk to her about certain topics. We're on a self-image, self-love journey our entire lives. And that is literally our soul lesson. Our soul lesson is to master both, probably self-love and self-image. And one of them will be a little bit more at the forefront for each of us. So each of us have a soul lesson, and one of them might be slightly more at the forefront than the other one. Sorry, my voice is doing funny things. This must be a reflection that I need to work through. So I'll be doing that after this podcast. I'll quickly figure out what the hell is going on there. So basically with that, we're all on that journey, right? So everything is rooted in a self-image, self-love thing. And that's why it's so important to get to the core of it, because to achieve the life that you desire, to be fully aligned with what you're meant to be doing here, when you do that, that's when everything starts to open up. Another thing that the manifestation world has told you, that if it's meant for you, it's meant to be easy. No, sorry, that's not really the truth. The truth is, if it's meant for you, you have to go through the trenches to make sure and to prove that you believe in yourself enough to create this. Plus, because if you're meant to master something, you're meant to master it. And mastery means going through all levels of it. So really sorry to disappoint to whoever is listening here and is like, why don't I have what I want yet? It's probably because you need to go through the trenches just a little bit more, but I promise you there is going to be a reward at the end. So going back to what I was mentioning before with the self-love, self-image, I can feel so many of you thinking it. I have had it even told to me, yeah, but I'm doing, and I've had this. When I started this, I got called out on still having to work on value. And I'm still working on pieces of my value, of self-image, self-love. It's a constant journey of getting to new layers, new levels of that before it just becomes something that you hold and it's not something that you have to keep working at. And that's also because I'm meant to help you guys, iron out all of that. And if I don't know how to iron out all of that, how can I help you iron out all of the levels when it comes to that? Same thing applies to you. So when it comes to that, with the self-image, self-love stuff, we often think we're taking all the actions. And we think, you know what? I'm doing it all. I'm working on the self-love. I'm taking care of myself. I see myself as amazing. I don't have any issues with the way that I look or the way that I do things. And then, literally, personal story, you get put into a group of magnificent people, women, professionals. Whether something right now, my business is like the highest value. So that's what I'm focusing on most, right? Whether it's in business, whether it's with your body, whether it's with, I don't know. No, I don't know if any of you are on a dating show. That's what comes to mind, right? If you're on a dating show and there's lots of for example, if you're on The Bachelor and there's so many other women, right? That's what happens. That's when suddenly you're like, oh, so my self-image has not fully healed, because if your self-image was at 100%, you could be put in amongst the most talented, the most gorgeous, the most funny, beautiful, inspirational women and men, I don't know, whatever. And in that moment, when you're amongst those people, you could still see yourself as the best and most amazing at what you do. That's the key here. But I know I still have work to do there, because I feel solid, self-image, self-love, working on all of that. I know I'm making so many changes with these things, but I've still had where I'm in a group of talented intuitives, because, we work together, we challenge each other, and we take trainings together and I'll be like, oh, am I actually good enough? Am I actually the most talented? Am I actually the best at what I do? So what does that tell us? That the self-image healing component there still needs work. Because if you didn't have those thoughts, then you would have healed your self-image 100%. But if you're feeling solid on your own, that's amazing. Well done. You've done so much self-image healing work, which means the work is working. You're probably noticing it in some areas, but now it's time to take it to the next level. Because if now you're questioning your self-image, you're questioning your value, you're questioning what you can put out there because you're amongst women that you deem quote unquote more valuable, or people that you deem quote unquote more valuable, that means there's still some layers to work through there. That is your higher self being like, okay, girl, you think that you've nailed this. Let's kick it up a notch so that we fully dial this in, because that's what it's about. It's about fully dialing in that belief. So every time you feel that, or you feel triggered, or you feel suddenly your self-image starts to dwindle, that's a sign that there is a little bit of work to be done there. And that's actually really exciting, because that means that when you hone in, you dial in there, that's when you start magnetizing things even more. That means you start attracting that financial abundance that you've been missing. You start attracting those clients that you have been missing. You start attracting that dream body, that dream relationship. It was a missing component. It was still something that you need to dial in. And when I talk about self-image, self-love, I have had many clients that I look in on that have been doing this work. They have been working on their self-image. They've been working on their self-love. But then when I intuitively look in to their subconscious and I connect with how high their self-love, self-image is, a lot of them still land between 8 and 20%. And that can feel devastating, because it can be like, but I'm doing all the work. Why is my self-image still so low? It's because you are missing, first of all, the emotional component. And second of all, you have not been given the right tools to fully shift your self-image. And it's not your fault, because we've never been taught to get the right tools. And that's specific to anybody, to everybody individually, because maybe a tool that works for me might not work for you. Maybe a tool that works for someone else doesn't work for you because you can't fully emotionally connect to that, because that doesn't shift your self-image. Maybe you've been using tools like affirmations, which have basically been pushing away the self-image even more. And on another level, what I've discovered is that when it comes to self-image and self-love, there are so many layers. So we can often feel like we have honed in and mastered our self-love or self-image. But maybe you've honed in on that in 3 areas of your life, but you haven't honed in on it on the other 5. And those are the ones that you're missing. Those are the ones that are blocking the flow of what is meant to be coming your way. And so what we do then, and this is so common, I catch myself doing this all the time, and I have to shift my perspective. And then when I do, everything shifts. I see this so often. We lock in and we focus on how things are not working out. And that's when the law of focus comes into play. So you're taking the action, you're doing the energetics, you're doing the physical things, and then you're like, why is it not working? You keep focusing on why it's not working. And so what you keep attracting into your life is it not working. And these tools can be very advanced. It can feel overwhelming when you're getting all this knowledge and you don't know where to begin. And that's why it's so important to have the right knowledge, the right tools, the right understanding to know where to begin, to see what is going to make the biggest shift in your reality. Because when we try to tackle it all at once, it will fail, like with any goal that you have. If you try to tackle it all at once, it is going to fail. So we need to look in and see what is the one tool that is going to bring the biggest life change today, that is going to bring the biggest shift today. You focus on that. Then when you see how those results start shifting your reality, you start focusing on where you're seeing the growth instead of where you're not seeing the growth. And then you start attracting more of what is growing instead of constantly focusing on how the things that you're trying to create are not working. And this is something that I even realized so funny. I have a lot of these realization moments when I'm going to the gym or working out. That's why it's so important to not ditch other areas of your life because you're focusing so much on your highest value. I have the biggest epiphanies, the biggest ideas, the biggest thoughts when I'm doing other things that are also part of my life. And that's where you're going to start seeing, that's another component. I was running on the treadmill and I always want to go as fast as I can. It's an ego thing, 1000%. Ego thing, human self wants to show off and see that, I'm fast. I can do this for a long time. But what do? I shoot myself in the foot when I do that. So I this time I went on the treadmill, intuitively was like, okay, I should start at level 9 instead of a level 10. And every 2 minutes, I'm going to increase the speed. And so I had this epiphany moment. And I know it's so simple, but I was on the treadmill, I was running, and I could go for so much longer because I was like, every 2 minutes, I increased the speed. So it was so smooth. I didn't try to reach the end, reach the goal in the quickest time possible. I took my time, built up my momentum, and was able to go for so much longer and felt so much more fulfilled, had a way better run than if I gassed myself out. Is that even a way of saying that? Killed myself in the beginning, basically, by trying to go as fast as possible, collapsing and not having fun doing it, feeling destroyed, feeling like a failure because I couldn't hold and do the run for more than 40 minutes or 30 minutes because I tried to go too fast in the beginning. And it was such a profound moment where I was like, oh my God, that is literally the same thing when it comes to trying to achieve your goals. If you are trying to reach the end in the quickest way possible and you're taking all the actions and you're doing it frantically and fast and you're basically running out of fuel, running out of gas, and you're exhausted by the end of it, you're not having fun, and you're focusing on how you're failing, what you're going to do is you're going to keep failing. So this run on the treadmill showed me, and it's the same thing when I run outside. If I'm focusing on where I need to be, it's so much more exhausting than if I focus on little goals that I'm trying to achieve along the way. And it's the same thing with business, with anything in life. We focus too much on where we want to be. And because we're focusing too much on where we want to be, we never get there. And then what you end up creating in your energetic field is, I'm not there yet. I don't have what I want. I can't create the things that I desire. That is detrimental for what you're trying to create. And this is why when you start honing in on your intuition, or even simply start understanding how reflections work, so what your body's communicating, what your environment is communicating, when you start honing in on that, when you start fully being able to decode and decipher what is in your energetic field, you're going to get so much clearer on what is holding you back, on what shifts you need to make, because it's very difficult to fully get there and realize what it is that is holding you back from achieving new levels, higher levels, breaking through that barrier that you just can't seem to break through when you don't know what your energetic field is broadcasting outward. And it's very hard to figure out what's in your energetic field when your conscious mind is constantly trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you feeling good in the moment instead of getting you to where you want to be. So your ego is always going to tell you that everything is fine and you're okay and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to deflect from what is really going on. And when you have the tools to decode even simply what the reflections in your body are telling you, you get the information that you need to shift your energetic field and your energetic body. And with reflections as well. And for everybody, that's something different and specific. And that's why the one person might be holding one thing in their energetic field and the other person might be holding something else in their energetic field. Like literally, without intuition, without understanding all of this stuff, I wouldn't know what to shift. I literally had not being committed in my energetic field. And girl, when I tell you that I feel like the most committed person, that is not part of my identity, not being committed. When I go for something 1,000 million%. But this is where it gets tricky. My energetic field was broadcasting out not committed because I had made a promise to someone, a friend, that I was going to go see them, and I didn't do it because I was prioritizing other things. And it was simply because of my perception of the situation, and somewhere subconsciously I was holding on to that, and that was having an effect on my energetic field. Now, listen, look, this can be nerve-wracking when you hear that, right? Because you're like, oh my God, what do I have in my energetic field? No, don't worry about that. Like, look, again, if you're meant to master every single component, then you're going to have situations like this. But probably in the beginning phases of you growing through and getting to your goals that you want to achieve, you probably will not have these little components that are holding you back. It will probably be bigger things that you just haven't put your finger on yet. And that's why it's so important to get the real guidance and understanding, either through training your intuition yourself, by mastering reflections. The body is a great place to start, but also just seeing how everything else is interacting with you. And the free content in my free membership helps you on that journey, helps you start to identify what your environment is telling you about your creator field, about what you're manifesting into reality, because you're already manifesting things. If you don't know what the things are that you are manifesting and creating, it is difficult to shift the creation, and especially when you don't have the right tools to do it. And this is one of those journeys that you keep finding more tools, you keep finding more shifts, and the more you up level on this journey, the more you're going to discover and the more tools you're going to have in your toolbox to be able to shift certain things. Because maybe the one tool is not going to work for this specific situation. That's why you're being shown a specific situation to overcome something new so that you gain a new tool or a new skill set. Then when you encounter that same situation, so again, let's look at like trying to hold a certain amount of clients or a certain amount of money or your dream relationship, pick whichever one resonates most with you. If you're in a tough spot and you're about to lose it all, or you're in a position where things get nerve-wracking, if you don't have your toolbox ready with your tools, you might lose everything. But if you have those tools, you can see, oh, I know this situation. I've been in something similar. I can figure out what my creator field is causing to create this. Now let's quickly shift that. And why that's important is so that when you get to the levels of abundance, when you meet your soulmate, when you achieve the body that you desire, when you have the business that you desire, when you're at a detrimental spot, you want to make sure that you have those tools in your toolbox. Because if you don't have them, it could be a devastating moment. And that's why you're not achieving the things that you are wanting to achieve just yet. Or let me actually rephrase that. You're not seeing where you're achieving it yet. And second of all, you're not where you want to be yet because you still need some missing pieces to the puzzle. You still need the tools in your toolbox so that when you get there, you have everything. But it is going to be a lot tougher to get there when you don't know how to shift and create things by being able to read your energetic field, by being able to see what you're creating and manifesting into reality, and with tools that you've been taught that are outdated and that don't actually work. So for those of you who are working on these tools and are seeing the changes, even then, there's probably another layer or another level to get through. That's why it really starts to shift things when you have the right tools, when you get the right understanding, when you dive deeper into all of this. And if you feel like you're still being tripped up about this, you feel like you don't know how to move forward and you're missing components, and you're like, yeah, Manouk, I understand all of this, but I just don't know what next steps to take. And I feel like I'm doing the right things, or I don't even know where to begin. Then please reach out, because I am happy to look in for you and see what you need, whether that be someone to help you, whether that be a specific video or a specific block that you need to work through. I am happy to look in to see what is stopping you from achieving the results. And from there, we can go into next steps, or what you need to do, who you need to contact, what you need to watch, what shift you need to make. That is going to shift everything, because you are so much more powerful than you think that you are. And the problem is, society, like I've said in previous podcasts, has literally been set up for us to fail and not tap into our power. So that is what we're going to shift today. And hopefully these key points that I mentioned today are already going to feel like, oh my God, yes, I'm not doing that. Or, oh, I still need to shift that. So give them a try. See what starts to change. And let me know. I love to hear from you guys how the things that I mentioned in this podcast shift the things for you that you've been feeling blocked on. And also, I want to hear from you guys what you want to dive deeper into, because this is for you to tap into next levels of yourself. So please reach out. And again, if you're feeling jammed up, you don't know what next steps to take, also please reach out. I am more than happy to check what you need and see what is going to bring about the biggest shift for you. Thank you so much, beautiful. And I'm excited to see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful rest of your day, night, evening, afternoon, whatever time it is there for you. Thank you so much for listening to You Can Call Me Goddess. I am so happy that you joined us in this show today. If you feel like this podcast gave you any sort of life change or value, then share it with someone you think would also get a lot of value out of it, because maybe it could just be that one thing that changes that person's life. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a nice rating below or in the show, because we would love to expand more on topics that you enjoy and keep this podcast up and running. Anyways, thank you, beautiful, and I hope to see you in the next podcast.